Hello, everybody. I am Melanie Harwood, and I am here to welcome you all to the Sustainable Schools Virtual Summit. And with me today is the very special, super talented, incredibly smart Vasiliki Kioupi. And Vasiliki is doing research, doing her PhD at Imperial College London. And when she tells you what she's developing and working on, it's going to knock your socks off. Vasiliki, over to you.
Thank you so much, Melanie. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and actually making this presentation and discussion about my work, my research at Imperial College. Actually, I used to be a teacher before I came to Imperial. I worked for almost 9 years in Greek secondary schools, and after that, after doing a master's degree in environmental education, I became a teacher trainer and a coordinator of environmental education projects in more than 150 schools in Athens. So yeah, I have a lot of experience, and that is what brought me actually to Imperial, because I really wanted to see what is the effectiveness of all the environmental education and the education of sustainable development that we are offering in the schools. And I'm delighted to be actually sharing this with you today. So let me share my screen with you. Okay. Okay, I hope you can see it now.
Yes, we can.
Yes, so today I'm going to talk to you about education for 2030, and I will explain why I mentioned 2030. And actually, I will be talking about how we can use education for sustainable development to achieve the SDGs. And we can do that through developing what I call sustainability competencies in learners. Actually, why is it important to have education for sustainable development in the first place? During the recent COVID pandemic crisis, we've seen that there are a lot of gaps and a lot of inequalities in education have been exposed. This actually led some of the most important leaders in the United Nations and UNESCO to actually reconsider how the education system should work. And actually they mentioned that we need a more inclusive, resilient and quality education system. And this education system should focus on sustainable development as the best model to build back better in education. And last year, the United Nations General Assembly recognized that education for sustainable development can actually be the driving force for achieving all the SDGs. And in this point, I'm wondering that why would the school should invest in becoming a sustainable school when there are so many conflicting priorities, and actually schools are just recovering from the COVID pandemic, and there is a lot of uncertainty on how things will play out in the future. So I've done a little research about that and realized that in most of countries, students have missed almost 1/3 of the school year due to COVID lockdowns. And some very important economists found out that actually their future income may be reduced by about 3% because of this loss in learning. So actually, if a school invests in becoming a sustainable school, it will help students to develop transversal competencies, not only the basic knowledge, let's say, about math and language and reading, but it will also help them develop competencies that are needed for the workplace. And this is important because they really need to make sure that this year they can make up for the lost time, and sustainable education can help with them. The second thing that I found out through my research is that the COVID-19 lockdowns affected, in some cases, young people's mental health, their mental health status, and in a negative way. And other research, separate research shows that the climate and environmental challenges we are facing may cause even more distress to young people. And one way of actually dealing with this distress is taking action, and sustainability education is actually calling for action in schools. A third really important point that has happened during the COVID lockdowns is that vulnerable students has been the ones that have been most adversely affected, because actually they didn't have the capacity in the first place to cope with remote learning, online learning, and maybe also the traditional way of learning was not motivating enough for them. However, by investing in a sustainable school, this will change because the education provided will help students learn in a new way that is more motivating, that helps them make connections between what they learn. And this is actually contributing to their development of knowledge and skills. And last but not least, teachers and of course school leaders will benefit from switching to a sustainable school mode, because actually the training they will receive for new teaching approaches that can help them introduce active learning and motivate students and the vulnerable students, and students who have suffered mental health problems, and the students who have lost actually a lot of opportunities to develop skills for their future career prospects. This kind of training will bring them all together, and it will enable the school culture to change. And when we're talking about a change in school culture, we talk about better relationships between the schools, between teachers, students, head teachers, and also with the parents. And this will actually develop a community that is working towards a better future in the school and in general. So how can we achieve a sustainable school? So through my research, I highly advise that if you want to build a sustainable school, it should not only be a school about sustainable development, it should be a school about inclusive education, meaning we care for all students' abilities and we teach for the diversity of the students. We focus on quality learning outcomes, and these learning outcomes that we decide for the school, they should be aligned with what we teach and what we assess. So we have what we call a constructive alignment. As I said before, we should not only focus on sustainable development, but human rights, gender equality, peace and non-violence, global citizenship, and a tolerance for cultural diversity and how it can flourish in the school. A sustainable school should provide lifelong learning opportunities for all, not only the students, but the teachers, the parents, and maybe the local community. That's why a sustainable school should be underpinned by values of caring for each other, of caring for the environment, respecting other people's perspective, and engaging in a democratic dialogue so that every opinion can be heard and be valued in the community. It has an important role, of course, in the community, so school becomes an active part of society because it realizes it cannot function on its own. It needs interactions with community, and it needs to forge these strong relationships and strong partnerships. So a sustainable school actually is an important unit that can realize the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. And the Sustainable Development Goals is the only plan we have to create a better world right now. This is a collection of 17 goals. They range from no poverty to sustainable cities, and safeguarding biodiversity on land and in water. They are actually quite a complicated framework. They have many goals and targets that we aim to achieve by 2030. And I really believe that education, when seen under the light of sustainable development, can help achieve this plan by 2030. So one of the SDGs is about quality education, and ESD within this SDG is regarded as an important component of quality education. However, through my research, I realized that maybe the previous framework, with all its complexity, whereas it builds an ambitious vision about the future, is a little bit difficult to be implemented in a school. And so through our research at Imperial College, we developed what we call the Sustainable School Framework, which actually is informed by this vision of a sustainable society by the SDGs. And what we advise that the sustainable school curriculum should embrace is these 8 different attributes that are represented in a circle. And these 8 different attributes represent different SDGs that are really tightly interacting. So what we should be aiming for in a sustainable school is to live well within planetary boundaries, understanding that there are limits in resources we can use, and so we should manage them carefully. We should also be promoting intergenerational and intergenerational equity. So not only covering our own needs, but thinking about future generation needs as well, and thinking about how we allow for a just participation in society for everyone. We should invest in resilient, sustainable behaviors, meaning that we develop the skills, knowledge, and the value base to actually understand and solve sustainable development issues. We should be focusing on health and well-being. So how can actually we can manage our planet and our relationship to ensure that we have health and well-being for humans, but non-humans inhabitants of this world. We should also be focusing on transparency and governance. So transparency in terms of the data we are using, how we can make them open access, and how other people can benefit from access to this data, how we can have just and democratic governance. We should be focusing on diversity, embracing other people's views, embracing all the biological diversity in the world and including them in decision making. Of course, how we can develop new economic models that do not solely focus on economic growth, but they actually focus on planet stewardship and on a just participation of citizens. And last but not least, how we can all collaborate to achieve that. How we can develop the empathy to understand each other, and how we can resolve conflict that may arise from different perspectives. So what does this mean for the educational practice? It means that we need to engage head, heart, and hand in students, and we should encourage reflection. And this links with my research and actually the development of competence in students. So when we mention head, we actually talk about the cognitive component of what the students should develop. It is about the knowledge and skills around sustainability issues, around climate change, for example. When we talk about heart, we talk about the non-cognitive or affective component that has to do with the values the students bring, the emotions they have, the attitudes towards the environment, and what actions they take. And when we talk about reflection, we talk about the metacognitive component. So how actually the students link what they know with what they do and why they do it. So this brings everything together, and this actually strengthens the knowledge and skill development in students, because they have a purpose and an understanding of why they are doing it. So through our research at Imperial College London, we identified some competencies that are important for sustainable schools and for achieving the SDGs. This is a collection of competencies, actually, and they're all helping active problem solving and active action towards the SDGs. So these competencies are systems thinking, the ability to connect different ideas and different systems together. For example, understanding the economic, the environmental, and the social implications of, for example, climate change. Future thinking, which is your ability to develop projections in the future. So how, if we continue the way we are doing things, how this will affect the future. But at the same time, is your ability to develop a positive vision about the future and thinking, this is the world I want to see. Value thinking is understanding what values drive your action, not only for an individual, but other people who work together or people who take decisions. Digital skills are very important because they do not only help communication between people. We know now that we live in an era where social media are very powerful, and we believe that students can use social media for a good purpose. So they are important for communicating your message, for building coalitions, and for making change. Collaboration, as I mentioned before, is actually bringing all the people together, understanding how each member's experience and knowledge and value set can fit within the project, can fit within the action plan, and how we can initiate change. Strategic and action competence is actually, we have painted the future we want to see, but what kind of plan will we make to actually realize it? Critical thinking is absolutely important because it helps you not only let's say, question opinions that you can find by other people, or you can read in the media, for example. It actually helps you build a system of criteria for checking the accuracy of information, the relevance of information, and the validity of the information. And this actually, critical thinking should be applied to ourselves when we are thinking about the opinions and the ideas about the world that we have formulated. And last but not least, self-awareness is understanding that we can make a difference and understanding what our role can be in this pathway towards a better future and towards change. So in my research, I'm enabling teachers to assess competence in schools. And I wanted to explain to them why it is important to assess competence. So it is important because if we start thinking about competence, as I mentioned before, engaging head, heart, hand, and reflection in students, we will understand how this happens. And then by understanding how this process is happening in our students, we will improve our curriculum and our teaching. And then the student learning will also improve. And this will reflect in our competence assessments. And so we can see that we are taking the right steps towards building competence in students. And this is actually seen from a pedagogical perspective, an education perspective. But there is another perspective which is related to sustainability. And this is the perspective of the society, which actually shows that if we have improved student learning, students will develop these competencies for the SDGs, for sustainability, and then they will work to achieve a more sustainable world. So you have these two loops, feedback loops, working together. So you can achieve much more impact through education in society in this way. And now I'm really happy to announce our partnership with Educcate Global. And I wanted to mention that we are offering the opportunity to Hammersmith and Fulham schools who sign up to teach climate change to participate in our project, which actually aims to assess competencies for the SDGs in the students. The methodology we have developed for this project has been tested with primary and secondary school as part of our research at Imperial College London. We aim to benchmark student performance at the beginning and at the end of the program, so we can see what kind of learning students have gained. And we will, of course, provide teachers with training on how to do the assessment. But I want to explain how this links with our process for enabling a sustainable school. So what we aim to do is to initiate transformation in the schools. So we really want to engage with the head teacher, who will be a key person to enable transformational leadership, because this is needed in a school, because otherwise we will have disconnected efforts within the school that will not help change. Then we aim to train a team of teachers who will be using the assessments. This group of teachers will initiate the cultural change in the school, so the school can become a sustainable school. For every teacher who participates in this group, we will develop a personalized professional development journey. And of course, this will feed into a success plan that will guide the implementation of the assessment. And our ultimate outcome will be that the students will develop the sustainability competence and will become change agents. And this will be actually portrayed in the results of the assessment. So how is this project unique? First of all, we will work with our schools to select the sustainability competencies they deem important, because different schools may have different visions of what they want to achieve. So actually, they will select it. So it will be driven by them, so they develop ownership of the project. We will train the teachers on how to develop and use the assessment for the selected competencies. And the assessment will involve the use of innovative and fun ways for the students to engage. And it will develop their digital skills as well. And we will generate the data on the student performance and will feed them back to the school so they can make data-driven decisions about their students and how they can achieve their sustainability goals. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. I want to thank you all for your attention. You can contact me at my Imperial College email address if you have any questions. I encourage you to actually take advantage of this opportunity. It is a unique project piloted for the first time with Hammersmith and Fulham schools, and we really look forward to working with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vasiliki. Vasiliki, that is phenomenal. And you and I have been having a few discussions leading up to this. And we know, like with our Educate Global schools, when we created the Educate Global, the Bronze Award and the Silver Award, we knew that we had to start with that process. Like we've said, the head teacher comes on board, then they nominate their Educate Global Sustainability and Climate Change lead teacher, and we have those 5 support team members to start that process. Now, this morning I had a very interesting Zoom meeting, and I had a school that came on board to start with the Bronze Award. And then they realized, but we could do that really easy, but we'd like to have all those support teams as well. And I said, well, you can. I mean, we've got schools that have been doing it. Claire Robinson has done a talk just before yours this week on how her school is moving towards being a sustainable school. And they quickly, her school moved through bronze and silver within 2 weeks. I mean, that was just unheard of. And the way that they've done that is incredible. They are now moving towards the end of the Silver Award and pushing towards being a hub school. They want to be an Educate Global Gold school. What I find very interesting with what we are doing is we are not pushing lesson plans. So if anybody's listening to this, we discovered really early on that this notion of lesson plans that are going to sort out the issue, we know that lesson plans are not going to cut the mustard. The world is awash with lesson plans. I can go on to almost any platform now and gain lesson plans on climate literacy, climate change. Educate Global, the reason that we, our mission statement and the reason that we began was to create a cross-curricular climate curriculum where sustainability and climate change is interwoven throughout the curriculum as if it's a golden thread. But the only way that you can do that is, 1, by assessment, to assess, are you delivering that coherently? And then the most important ingredient that almost everybody else seems to, there's a disconnect. They don't seem to realize you have to build leaders. And that was why when we partnered with the United Nations, Denise Meisner and I, we went to Geneva, we presented to 30 agencies, and we said, we want to create this cross-curricular climate curriculum, but we need assessment and we need a leadership program. We need to upskill these teachers to be the creme de la creme of teachers. And I was reaching out around the world to universities, waiting for you to come along, Vasiliki, waiting. And when you weren't even supposed to be the reason that I was having a meeting one day.
Exactly.
Another team introduced, we are going to work with, we are going to collaborate with Nexus. It's called the Nexus Project, isn't it?
The Nexus Project. And it is a very exciting project, I have to say.
It is really cool. And they had the meeting and they brought you in. And you started speaking about the SDGs and assessment, and I was like, oh, my ears went, oh, this is what I've been waiting for. Where's she been? And it was just like, and then you said, can I have a separate meeting with you? And I was like, yes. And we spoke, and I said to you, I know exactly what we need. We need to assess the baseline data of the schools. Are we teaching these children the SDGs coherently? What, how can we tweak our it's just like handwriting. Most people won't realize that my background, I created a handwriting scheme called Start the Handwriting. And to prove that my method worked, I had to build an assessment. I created the handwriting matchfit assessment. And then I knew, oh, I can't just do that. I need to create a teacher training to create these handwriting specialist teachers so that they are like me. I can't go to every school in the world. Every school needs a handwriting specialist teacher, because I knew that you have to have core competencies.
Of course.
You have to be able to assess roadblocks. It's not always about a test to see, did you get 10 out of 10 or did you get 5 out of 10? It's about assessing our delivery. Are we finding the potential roadblocks in the road for you? And are we clearing those roadblocks?
Exactly. Are we removing barriers to your learning, actually?
Absolutely. So it's just like that. Now, I believe more and more as a result of COVID-19, I convinced Denise Meisner. I said to her, look, you might not like this idea. We're going to give our handwriting specialist teacher training for free to every school in the United Kingdom. She sat back and she said, okay, well, our mission statement is to level up, to break the boundaries and to diminish that differential between those who have a ton and those who have none. She said, okay, I see it. I'll have to be at peace with it. And we gave our handwriting assessment training away. We sent an email out via one of our favorite head teachers, Fiona Cowan. She was amazing. We said, Fiona, nobody wants to listen to us. Will you please send an email out to every head teacher in the UK? And she was like, oh, Mel, no. And I said, come on, I'll draft it for you. She said, I'm too busy. I said, I'll type it. You have a look at it. You tell me if you're happy with it. Come on. And she said, okay. Well, we sent that email out, Vasiliki. 24,100 schools signed up within 5 days. They were like, great. We'll have that. We'll have that. And I said to Denise, do you realize that we've just given away the equivalent of 47 million pounds of CPD training? And she said, I need to lie down. My husband said, you did what? You gave away the thing that keeps us alive. I said, yes. But then what happened was I spoke with Jan Parnell, the director of children and education of Hammersmith and Fulham. I said, your schools are going to be joining us. And 50 of your schools. Have I lost you?
No, I'm still here.
And I said, your team have created this recovery training for your head teachers. Now, schools around the world can't afford that. Let me just switch that off. I've just seen that coming in. And I said, schools around the world just can't afford that. Where are they going to find £4,000 or £5,000 to purchase a training for how to recover from COVID-19, the emotional recovery? How are they going to have a bereavement training? They're just not. I said, but you've got child psychologists and education psychologists. So can I have your training? And she said to me, what do you want to do with it? I said, can I give it to the world? And she said, I'll need to think about that. And she came back and she said, yeah, if we are in partnership with Educate Global, and with what we want to achieve, we want to be global citizens. And that's part of the SDGs.
Exactly.
We have to give forward, because those of us, those societies, those regions, those councils, those countries where we have the financial ability to create training programs and projects, we mustn't just think that we have to hold on to those like Gollum and his ring going, my precious. We have got to give forward. And sometimes it's very difficult for a council to connect globally. And that's why, where Educate Global has come in.
You need the partnerships, actually.
You have got to partner. And it was like us saying to you, Vasiliki, we want to partner with you, because I saw your idea with the toolkit, and I said to you, I see a teacher training. I see the SDG specialist teacher training, and I see it having CPD points, and I see this being having an accreditation from Imperial College London. Now, for a teacher, if we are going to deliver that leadership team of those creme de la creme of sustainability and climate change leadership teams, we have got to deliver the very best training to them, the very best toolkits, so that they got the training, they can go to their teams, do the baseline assessments, go and weep in the staff room, because that's what happens. People
Yes.
don't realize when we do the handwriting match fit assessment, I did an induction yesterday with 180 teachers from Dubai. And I warned them, I said, when you do this handwriting match fit assessment, you are all going to be very depressed, because it's going to highlight inconsistencies. It's going to flag up roadblocks. But you need to be dancing around and doing a jig, because if you did not do that assessment, you would just continue without ever knowing, my goodness, I can negate this. I can give this child a personal handwriting strategy, and within 1 year, I have negated this issue, and I have a child that is literate, is not just going to be functionally illiterate by the age of 11. They are going to be fully literate. They are going to be able to access all of the curriculum. Because if you have literacy, you can then deliver climate literacy.
Of course.
The doddle. And the same with your SDGs. I know that Joanna McFarlane, she's the creator and developer of something we've been working on that's so exciting. It's called Wild Planet Explorers. I need to show you. I need to share this with you. We'll bring Joanna on for one of our talks. She's mind-blowing. And she said to me, she was going into schools and she was asking the children, do you know this SDG? And the children were looking at her. And then the teachers came up to her afterwards and they said, we don't understand. We've been teaching this for 2 years. And she said, no, that's okay. And they said, how did this happen? Why did we not realize? Why did we not assess? And that's why when you came along with your SDG assessment toolkit, I was like, somebody's built it. And will follow. The rest, everything else is going to fall into place. I can't wait, Vasiliki. I can't wait to be delivering this to all these schools in Hammersmith and Fulham. And then once this has been trialed and tested and peer reviewed, we are hoping to deliver this to every single Educate Global Awards school throughout the world. We currently have just over 329,000 Educate Global Awards schools, and we are now signing up. I mean, I shouldn't be talking about it. We have potentially got 35,000 schools are going to be joining us in the next 2 to 3 months. And we are hoping that there's an entire state in America with 2,500 schools. They are going to be joining us. And I delivered a Facebook Live on Sunday, and I warned everybody. I said to everybody, you need to get ready, because if you've done our training, you are going to need to be our mentors, because as the mentors, you are going to help us onboard up to 10,000 schools every 3 months to begin with. And then every month, I want to be onboarding 3,000 schools, because I know that we can do this. We can change the world in 80 days, Vasiliki. You and I know we can. Absolutely possible.
Yes.
When we launched the climate change teacher course, as it was a year ago, people said to us, it's impossible. It'll never happen. Nobody's going to do this. And nobody did. We launched it on April the 22nd, 2019. Do you know what I had to do, Vasiliki? I had to learn how to use Twitter. And I was sending direct messages to teachers saying, please, if you don't do the climate change teacher course, I'm going to have to go and put myself on some train tracks.
Oh, God.
I had one head teacher. She said to me, can you please stop harassing me? I will do the course if you stop harassing me. I said, oh, that's great. And she did it. And then she shared her certificates on Twitter. So Rebecca, if you are listening, you were the very first head teacher to do the climate change teacher course. And she's in a school up north, in the north of England. I was standing in a pharmacy, and when that tweet came through and that direct message, and she said, I've done all 5 courses. Will you leave me alone? And I said, please, can you share those certificates? And she shared those certificates on Twitter, and my phone started pinging. And then I had Dr. Ben King. Dr. Ben King, if you are listening, from Chaston Farrer's School in Devon, Totnes in Devon, I think you rock. You rock my world, Dr. Ben King. Then Dr. Merrill Batchelder from Northumberland, Hexham. My goodness, Hexham. That's it. Dr. Merrill Batchelder. She's an SDG ambassador for the UN. My goodness. And she said to me, I've been waiting. When I told her about you, Vasiliki, she said, I have been waiting for this. I want every STEM teacher in the world to be doing Vasilikis and Educate Global's training. I want to have these SDG specialist teachers in every classroom in the world. Is that going to be possible? And I said, Meryl, you joined me with no fear. Dr. Ben King, do you know what he did, Vasiliki? He went on Twitter and he started sharing what we were doing. And my phone was going bing, 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 bing. In 30 minutes, 400 schools signed up.
Amazing.
And I knew then, I thought, this is going to go global. And in 9 months, 329,000 schools. So if we can do that in 9 months, and we did all of that from our kitchen table, hey? So if we can do that, we can achieve absolutely anything together. But it's because we're working together with the very best. We are incredibly blessed to be partnering with Imperial College London and Vasiliki. I mean, you're going to be Dr. Vasiliki.
Yes, of course.
You know, this is what she wants, folks. She's only in it for the academic. You know, she just wants to have that doctor next to her name, so that we have to say, Dr. Kioupi, right? I mean, I've been emailing everybody saying, Dr. Kioupi, Dr. Kioupi. So,
not yet, but hopefully very soon.
Now, I want to know, before we close this session, you came from Greece to do this research.
Yes.
How did you convince your husband to come with you? Because this is your gig, yes?
Yes. Actually, it takes one and only thing to find the right person. If you find the right person will understand your dreams and support you. So this is what he did with me. And when I was accepted at Imperial, and I was, you know, I was a little bit stressed because of the new reality and everything. He said, this is your dream and you will do it. I absolutely support you in that, and I believe that you will. So here I am, and here we are, of course.
Well, I have to, what is your husband's name?
George.
George, I salute you. You have a very gorgeous, amazing, clever wife who's going to be making huge changes in education throughout the world.
This is my biggest dream, actually.
Well, you're making your dream a reality. And we all have those individuals. I know with Educate Global, we are a very small, tight-knit team, and we have self-funded Educate Global ourselves. Most people don't believe us. They insist that we must have had funding from the UN. Actually, we paid the UN. We had to pay them for a joint article. But anyway, that's for another talk.
Yes.
It's Denise Meisner, who's an occupational therapist. I cannot thank her enough. If it wasn't for her support and her friendship and just her stability, because I'm the fiery one, you see. I'm the one that goes, come on. And Denise is very sweet. She sort of comes in behind me and says to everybody, you know, you can really do this, everybody, come on. And everybody goes, oh, Denise. And then there's my husband, my long-suffering husband, Jonathan Harwood. How he doesn't put up with me, I don't know. How he has coped with me, you know. I pick up the laptop and I go, edit those lessons, we need them. Come on, I need this training. And he's going, oh, there's only so much I can do, Mel. I'm dying here, you're killing me. And there's Tim Collins. Tim, who is our resident polymath. who keeps trying to phone me, trying to Skype me during this darn talk. And without Tim, Tim runs his own business called Edunity, and he has volunteered. And he and his team have helped us build our website, help us develop our processes. I mean, Tim even went with me to COP25.
Amazing.
And if he did not, we would never have achieved 12 live press conferences. Tim was like a dog with a bone. It was like, Mel, you said 12 press conferences. And I was like, Tim, come on, we're going to die here. And he said, no, no. And I just thought, okay. And we went. And Fiona Cowan, head teacher, if she went with us, she joined us. I mean, we were as sick as dogs with the flu for the first week. She joined us in Madrid. And Asha Alexander, our very first Educate Global Gold Award School. Without these very, very giving and driven, and they're leaders. They're all leaders. Without them, we would never be here today. We would never be having this Sustainable School Virtual Summit.
I completely agree. And I really want to actually thank my supervisor. He's actually the person who believed in me. He's Professor Nick Vulvoulis at the Center for Environmental Policy. He actually believed in my project because I contacted him and I sent him my research proposal. And he believed in me and he offered me the opportunity to do this research project. And of course, after I started, everyone at the Center for Environmental Policy for their support. They are an amazing, amazing team. And I can't thank them enough for this.
You mentioned that there's a very, very special chap that runs your team, and I'm just going to get my notes out. He's the director of Grantham, Professor Sir Brian Hoskins, is that correct?
Yes, yes.
And did he set up this team? Did he oversee the development of this at Imperial?
He's actually the director of the Grantham Institute. It's a center dedicated to climate change. It is not actually part of our department, the Center for Environmental Policy, but they are doing amazing work around climate change and around policy development.
You do know they're going to absolutely go nuts when they see what you're doing, Vasiliki. When they see
I hope they will.
Vasiliki, you know that they're going to be burning a path to your door and saying, now, who is this woman from Educate Global that you inveigled along? How did you convince this woman to get? And aren't we lucky that you are based in London, and that we are so lucky that the leader of Hammersmith and Fulham Borough Council, Stephen Cowan, Larry Culhane, his deputy, and Jan Parnell, the Director of Education and Children for Hammersmith and Fulham. How lucky are we that these are the individuals that got in touch with us last year and said, we want this for our schools. We want climate literacy in our schools. We want sustainability. We know that this is the future. Our kids, we don't want this brain drain. We want them to learn the SDGs, the green economy. We want you to tell us how we can prepare them. And we said, are you ready? It's not going to be easy. And I mean, Jan Parnell went with me to Dubai to go and see Asha Alexander School. And she brought Sally Brooks with her, head teacher, and she brought Tara Nombaig with her. And I'm thinking, head teachers don't take a week off school to come with some woman to go to Dubai. And then The Guardian joined me. The Guardian said, oh, we'll come along, we'll do a visual feature. And I was like, oh, okay. So I think that everything, it's very serendipitous.
Yes.
And it seems like all of these doors are opening to us right now. And we've been working towards this for quite some time. Each and every one of us in our own directions and spheres and specialisms. And it's all now coming together where we join and we deliver this training, we trial it, we tweak it, we make sure that it's the very best. We get it into our schools, we get it peer reviewed, and then what we do is we should be having business partnerships. Where we want this to go, ladies and gentlemen, we want businesses to come on board and do the training with us on condition if we are prepared to give you a sustainability and climate change leader in your establishment or your organization or your industry, you have to agree to sponsor at least one school. And that school will be your partner in sustainability and climate change learning throughout their process and your process. So that is where we're going to have these public-private partnerships and these SME organizational business industrial partnerships, so that we all work together to solve this global problem. Global heating is a global problem. It affects each and every one of us. I want to thank you so very much for joining me, Vasiliki. It has been illuminating. It has been exciting. You had me at hello. And I want to thank everybody else for sitting listening to this. If you want any information about what we are doing, please email us at support@educateglobal.org. That is SUPPORT @educateglobal.org. That is EDUCCATEGLOBAL.org. We have a support team, please. We will get back to you. Email us, we'll get a support ticket, we'll reply back to you within about 2 to 3 days. If you would like for your school to become a sustainable school, to become an Educate Global Awards school, please get in touch with us. Or if you are an industry or an organization or a business, an SME, absolutely anybody, a corporate entity or even an individual that would like to do our training with us, be certified as a sustainability and climate change lead, we will gladly entertain that on condition that you sponsor a school for the entire life cycle of their process of being an Educate Global Award school. Bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. Thank you very, very much, everybody. And we will see all of you on the other side. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Excited for this. Bye.
Bye, everybody.